Often we can be asked to complete a table just like this, which changes between fractions, percentages, and decimals. And so just a quick wee example of how we can do this. I quite like starting with percentages, because I know that percentage is out of 100. You know, when we see the percentage sign here, it looks like that 1 with 2 zeros, so it's 48 out of 100. And so if we want to go from a percentage to a fraction, what we can do is we can divide by 100, write it out of 100. So for example, this 48% here is 48 out of 100. 48 divided by 100. And what we would be expected to do every time then is to simplify that down. And I know you can do it in stages if you want. You can see that 4 goes into that. The top and bottom, so 12 out of 25. Or if you notice that it went down 2s, you could do it in stages if you wish. But likewise, 48% is 48 out of 100. To get from a percentage to a decimal, we can do exactly the same. Again, we divide by 100. And 48 divided by 100, in terms of decimals, is nice and easy. We think of the decimal point is there at the minute. And so when we divide by 100, it moves the decimal point 2 places. And so it's going to be 0.48. And so if I look at this fourth one down, 225%, it looks a wee bit strange. We know that 100% is a full 1 amount, so 225% must be more than 1. So we shouldn't be surprised if we get an answer more than 1. In fact, then to go from a percentage to a decimal, I'm going to divide by 100. And 225 divided by 100 is 2.25. Likewise, when it comes to the fraction, 225% is 225 out of 100, or 225 over 100. 225 divided by 100. And we can simplify this down. Again, you see that 25 goes into 100 4 times, 25 goes into 225 9 times. So it's 9 quarters, or 9 over 4. Happy leaving it like that. Or if you wanted, you could write it as 2 1/4. Okay. Now, if to get from percentage to decimal, we divide by 100. Then to get from a decimal to a percentage, we do the reverse. We multiply by 100. And likewise, from a fraction, we multiply by 100. To turn a fraction into a percentage, we multiply by 100. That's maybe not quite as easy though, so we'll not always. So we'll come back to that. Let's do the decimals first. So 0.625 here. If we multiply this by 100, decimal place will move twice, it'll be 1, 2. And so that'll end up as being at 62.5%. Now, again, we have a percentage, so to go from a percentage to a fraction, we divide by 100. 62.5 over 100. I don't like the mixture of decimals and fractions there, so we're going to write that then as 125 over 200. And that'll cancel down to, because 25 goes into 125 5 times and into 200 8 times. So the answer is 5/8. Looking at this one here then, 1.15. Whenever we divide by 100, we move the decimal point 2 places. So that means that this is going to end up then as 115%. And when we write that as a fraction, it's 115 out of 100, or 115 divided by 100. I know that 5 goes into those, so that's 20 in the bottom. On the top, it's going to be 23, so it's 23/20, or I guess 1 3/20. Either is fine. Okay, so that's we've gone from percentages and managed to find fractions and decimals. We've gone from decimals and managed to find percentages and fractions. Sometimes when we're starting with fractions, it can be a wee bit trickier sometimes, but there are some tricks. You can just multiply by 100 each time. That's fine. But another way of thinking that is, okay, let's see, can I write this with a denominator of 100. And if I do that, if I multiply the top and the bottom by 5, I get 85 out of 100. Now, that's then much easier to write, to multiply by 100, because when I multiply by 100, the bottom line is cancelled out and we're left with 85. Or you can think of it, 85 out of 100 is 85%. And once we have 85%, writing that as a decimal is nice and easy. We divide by 100, so it's 0.85. Something like this, 4 3/4. Well, again, what I might want to do is say, okay, that's 4 75 out of 100. Or if we do it as a top-heavy fraction, that's 475 out of 100. So that's 475%. And when we write that as a decimal, so we divide by 100, we get 4.75. The advantage of being able to, one of the advantages of being able to change between these is that if you have a mixture of decimals, percentages, and fractions, and you want to compare them, and you're not quite sure, well, all that we have to do is to change them all into the same type, into decimals or percentages or fractions. I guess like if you were doing measurements, you'd want all your measurements in centimeters. So if you had something in meters and something in millimeters, you'd convert them into centimeters. And then you could add them, subtract them, or compare them. It's the same thing here. I often think too that writing them as a decimal is the easiest way of doing that, and the easiest way to compare them. Because here you can see that it's nice and easy. 4.75 is biggest, then 2.25, then 1.15, 0.85, 0.65, and 0.48.